This video is going to be a beginner's guide on going through the process of putting in a transfer bid and signing new players in Football Manager 2024. And this video will cover two topics. First is going to be signing players on a transfer. Second is going to be signing players on loan. So we will go through the transfer and loan negotiations themselves. If you are interested in learning how to find players that you might want to sign, such as learning how to find wonder kids or free transfers, there are also videos on that, so I will include links for those in the description below. But that being said, if you are new to the game, the transfer and loan negotiations might be a little bit confusing. So hopefully this video will help to clear up some of that complicatedness for you. So first, you might have found someone, maybe in your scouting center, who you would really like to sign. So for example, here we have Marcelino Nunez, who is a 23-year-old Chilean playing at Norwich. My scouts have identified him. I've decided that I want to sign him, so I'm going to put in a bid. We're going to talk through everything that goes into making that bid. So one of the first things that you can do to see whether your scout is kind of correct in how much they think they can be signed for, you can go to transfer and then ask agent about the player's availability. So you can say something along the lines of like, we're keen on signing Nunez and would like to know more about what the demands would be. And in this case, you'll get some information about their salary. That is also something that we have a video on, so you can check that out. I'll include that as a link in the description as well. But the most important things for this video is the top line here. I believe Norwich will want somewhere between 9.8 mil and 12.5 mil pounds to make a deal possible. This gives a general range for what it might be. I would also consider maybe going a little bit higher than this. Sometimes the club wants a little bit more than 12.5 million pounds. The agent is kind of trying to entice you into a deal. So add a little bit to this, and that's probably the correct range. But at this point, if you're comfortable with the price range and this is a player you want to sign, you can go to transfer and then you can go to make an offer and make sure this is on transfer offer. And now you have this screen where you can actually make a bid. So this is the screen that we're going to go to very in depth. I'm going to explain everything on this screen so that you guys can be able to make your own transfer negotiations. Especially if you're new to the game, this can be really confusing. But that being said, we're actually going to start on the left side of the screen here because there is a lot of important information on the left side of the screen. Notably, your transfer budget remaining and your payroll budget remaining. So this tells you how much transfer budget you have. So I currently have 20 million pounds in the transfer budget. So I know that I can't spend more than 20 million pounds if I want to make this deal happen. I also have some sense of the payroll budget. So I have about 50K left in the payroll budget. I'm probably going to need some of that to make this deal happen. But if I needed more than 20 million, I can go in here and adjust this to give myself a little bit more transfer budget. I am right at the beginning of the game, so I can't do it at the moment. But if you've been playing a little bit later on, you can potentially adjust to add a little bit more transfer budget for yourself, taking away some of your payroll budget, allowing you to make a transfer happen if you needed more money. And this is actually, I believe, a new feature to Football Manager 2024. I don't remember being able to do this in FM22. Maybe I could in FM23, but I didn't play a whole lot of FM23. But this is a really nice new feature that's been implemented in the game. Then below that, there's some other information related to the potential transfer negotiations. It has some English rules that you might need to think about. It has what Norwich thinks of Nunez and why he might be a little bit more priced. It has some FFP stuff, so if you're over or under, it'll give you a little warning there. If you wanted to do a part exchange deal, it tells you that Norwich are looking for a striker and a right midfielder. So if I didn't want to pay so much money, then I might go in and try to do a part exchange deal. Sometimes here it'll also tell you players that the opposing club is interested in, if they're interested in someone from your club, because that might help make the deal happen. And then at the bottom here, we have what we would currently pay. So currently it's 9.75 million. If I change that up, it'll be 10 million. This will be important when we talk about like additional fees and things, so I'll come back to it. And then we have other things that are good to know. So agent fees, intermediary fees, sign-on fees will affect the club's transfer budget as well. And it says if you have transfer objectives from your board, such as signing players under the age of 23, it will include that here as well. So this is a nice little screen that gives you a lot of information. But the most important part is going to be the transfer budget and payroll budget, and this little bit here, as we will continue to talk about later. All right, but that is everything on this side of the screen. So now let's actually talk about the transfer negotiations. So first thing is you have to decide whether this is a transfer offer and a loan offer. We'll do loan offers as the second part of this video, but we'll start off with transfer offers. To the right here, you can put in a non-negotiable or negotiable bid. Generally, I keep everything negotiable. Clubs generally just flat out reject non-negotiable bids in my experience. So I keep this negotiable, and I pretty much never set a deadline. Even if you're on transfer deadline day, I don't find that setting a deadline is a good thing. At least I haven't tried it in FM24. It might be different now. But in past FMs, if there was a deadline or if I made it non-negotiable, it seemed to be rejected more often than not. Like clubs didn't like having a hard deadline. But most clubs respond pretty quickly. So I wouldn't worry about too much about this. I generally keep this as a default negotiable and no deadline setting. Next up is the transfer fee. This is just the straight up fee. This is what you are going to be paying up front immediately once the player is signed. So currently this is at 10 million. So in theory, if this transfer bid was accepted, we would pay one flat fee of 10 million pounds immediately upon the transfer being agreed. After that is the transfer date. This is pretty much always immediate. You could do end of season as well. I've never seen anyone do end of season. I've generally always seen this be immediately, and this is so you can get the player in immediately. This is the default setting. You generally don't need to worry about changing that. But now we get into where things might get a little bit more complicated, and this is in the additional fees and the additional clauses. So starting off with additional fees, there are a number of things here that we can talk about. First is installments. This is guaranteed money going to the other team in installments. So you can set your installments to be 6 monthly or 12 monthly. So let's do 12 monthly and 3 installments. So in this case, if we did 12 monthly and 3 installments, and let's say we were adding 5 million to this. This means that over the course of 3 years in monthly installments, we would be paying 1.66 million pounds per year. And as you can see here, this is important to note because this is going to be out of future transfer budgets. So right now, we would have an immediate flat fee of 10 million pounds paid immediately and taken out of this season's transfer budget. But if we add in this extra 5 million pounds, 1.66 million, because again, we did 12 monthly, so after 1 year, it'd be 1.66 million, and it'll be 3 years of that. So 1.66 million will be taken out next year of that season's transfer budget. The year after that, 1.66 million as well, and the year after that, 1.66 million as well. So installments can be really useful, but also potentially really debilitating for your club. They can be useful when you immediately arrive at a club and you're trying to overhaul the squad and you don't have a huge transfer budget. Say I wanted to sign 3 or 4 players. 10 million for Marcelino Nunez isn't going to work. I might need to bump this down to 5 million, let's say, to try and make this deal happen. But Norwich aren't going to accept a 5 million pound offer. They're going to want between 9 and 12 million. So maybe I'll add a 7.5 million in future installments. That way, less money is coming out of this season's transfer budget, meaning I can improve the squad for this season more by signing more players. However, they are going to be deducted from future transfer budgets, so I might have less money in the future. But if you can spread this out over a long time, pull a Todd Bowley, it might not be so bad. You know, you're not letting out a huge amount of money for one player. But if you're consistently doing this over and over again, and you're not a big club, it could end up being kind of difficult to pay all of that back in the long run. It could mean that you don't have as much finances in the long run. So installments can be a really useful tool, but just make sure you're thinking about it and make sure that you're considering the future cost of what you're doing. So this transfer fee And these installments are guaranteed money. This means in total, no matter what, we're going to be paying £12.5 million. All the other additional fees are bonuses, are performance related bonuses. After league appearances here, let's say I always do this to 50 games. You want to extend this out as long as you can. But this means that after 50 league appearances, you would pay $1 million to Norwich here. If they play 49 matches and you sell them, the other team does not get this £1 million. I really like performance related bonuses if you can include them, because if he plays 50 games and we get promoted, I don't mind paying £1 million. Similarly, after international appearances, you can set 20 games here. I mean, if he turns out to be a really good player, he's playing a bunch of games for Chile, 20 games, £1 million, maybe that's not so bad. Same thing with minimum league goals. If he scores 50 goals, I get a little nice £1 million. Like, that's fine. He's doing amazing for the club. I don't mind paying out that money. Another one you can do is a bonus after competition achievement. This means that if, for example, we won the Sky Bet Championship and I might pay £500,000 to them, if you don't win the Sky Bet Championship, you're not going to pay this money. This only happens if you win it, and you could also use an expiry date. So if I'm expecting to get promoted this season, I might only do it for this season. And I might want Marcelino Nunez. I might, to protect if he gets injured or something, I want to make sure he plays a certain number of games. So I might say he has to play 20 games. That way, if he got injured and was out for the whole season, I don't necessarily have to worry about paying this amount of money if we won the Sky Bet Championship and he wasn't actually involved in the squad. So that is a general breakdown of the additional fees. The important thing here is to note that the transfer fee and the installments are guaranteed money. Everything else is performance related. So these are only paid out if he plays 50 matches, if he plays 20 matches for the international team, if he scores 50 goals, and if you complete this specific achievement and he played the right number of games prior to the expiry date. The last thing in the additional fees is the players to exchange. So you could theoretically exchange a player. As we saw here, Norwich was looking for a striker and a right midfielder. So I might, if this was too much money, I would probably take out a lot of the other things. But if they were interested, I could look at my transfer listed players. Joe Aribo's a striker and can play right mid, so I might add him in there. You could also choose another player in the squad, go to senior squad. And if I was really cool with getting rid of Kamaldeen Sulemana, I might include him in the deal as well. And to do this, I might include Joe Aribo. I'll just click on him, transfer, he's added to the squad. However, this makes something a little bit different because now for this deal to go through, not only do Norwich need to accept this bid, not only do I need to negotiate a contract with Marcelino Nunez, but Joe Aribo also needs to accept a contract from Norwich. If Joe Aribo does not accept that contract, then the deal will fall through. So if you are going to do this, make sure that this player would want to join this club. And all of this is very confusing probably for you because it's like, how much is this deal? Might this deal be worth? Like, I know I'm paying 12.5 million here, but then we got 1 million, 500K. Well, there's a part at the bottom of the screen here that's probably covered by my face, but it says potential cash value at the bottom right hand corner. And this says 16 million pounds. So that could be the total value of this deal. So you can also pay attention to that as well to see how much it could totally cost if everything here is hit. All right, but that is all the additional fees. Let's talk about additional clauses. There are quite a few additional clauses. There is, when you're signing a player though, a lot of these you probably don't want to include. Loan back length, don't worry about it. Unless it's a young player who they're developing really well at that club and you want to loan them back and that club has good transfer facilities, you might include a loan back length. This here is how much of the wage that the club they're currently at will continue to pay. So for example here, a loan back length, and if I said 10%, as you can see here, this means that Norwich will continue to pay 10% of Nunez's current contract, and my club would pay the rest of it. If you're trying to sign a player who's immediately going to improve your first team, don't worry about loan back length. You don't need it. This is really only used for young players who you want to continue their development at the club they're at. I'm going to talk about percentage of profit of next sale and percentage of next sale at the end because those are two really important ones and I want to spend a lot of time on those. Additionally, you could have something called a buyback price. This might be something that the other team actually includes, especially if it's like a youngster and Man City, you're trying to get them from Man City. They'll have a buyback price. In general, this will be slightly more than the transfer fee you're currently paying. I would not include this personally. This is generally only included for the selling team, so I wouldn't worry about this either. Similarly, selling team's salary contribution, if you don't think you can afford their salary, you can include this. I don't see this working very often. But this would be like they would pay 9K per week of the salary potentially. Sometimes arranging a friendly works as well. This is generally if the club is smaller than your club. This can work to help you lower the transfer fee. I wouldn't do this for a club like Norwich, but if I was trying to sign someone from like a Vanarama South side, I would include an arranged friendly because it helps them get a little bit more money. And finally, there could be a sell player first clause. This means that for this deal to go through, I would need to sell Kyle Walker-Peters. In general, though, the buying club doesn't do this. This is more of a selling club thing. I wouldn't worry about that too much. But the two really important clauses that everyone uses and is really important to understand is the percentage of profit from next sale and the percentage of next sale clauses. These are huge for a couple of reasons. One, including this will significantly lower the transfer fee. However, you need to be careful with them because it could end up losing you money in the long run. So starting off with percentage of profit from next sale, what does this actually mean? So the percentage of profit from next sale refers to what would happen in the case that you signed Marcelino Nunez and then you sold him later on. So let's say I paid 5 million in transfer fee for Nunez. And later on down the line, I sold Marcelino Nunez for 7 million pounds. The profit from that sale is 2 million pounds. And Norwich would receive 10% of 2 million because that is the profit, meaning that 200,000 pounds of that sale would go to Norwich. Now, when to use the percentage of profit from next sale? It is a really good tool to use if you are signing a player in their absolute prime and their transfer value probably isn't going to increase a whole lot once they go to your club, or you're definitely not going to sell them for more money. In that case, use the percentage of profit for next sale to your advantage, because if you're not planning on selling that player for a profit, put this up at 50%, and that way it'll help you lower the transfer fee. However, if you are a smaller club and you're signing an absolute wonder kid, and you might be signing them for 500,000 pounds, and they could be worth 70 million, 80 million pounds in the future, remove and exclude this from the negotiation, because that percentage of profit is going to be huge. If you sign a player for 1 million and sell them for 80 million, you have a 79 million profit. Even if they're only getting 10% of that 79 million profit, that is 7.9 million pounds that is not going to your club and not going into your transfer budget if you have 100% transfer revenue available. So if Marcelino Nunez is a wonder kid here, I'm going to remove and exclude this from the negotiation. That way, Norwich, cannot include this later on. That's percentage of profit from next sale. This is very important to distinguish from the percentage of next sale clause. This is much theoretically harder to deal with. This doesn't have anything to do with the profit. So again, if I signed Marcelino Nunez for 5 million pounds and sold him for 3 million pounds, there's no profit to that. So if we had a percentage of profit clause, Norwich would get nothing. But if I sign him for 5 million and I sell him for 3 million later on, this is the percentage of next sale for any sale. So they will get 10% of any sale. If it's 3 million, they'll get 300,000. If it's 2 million, they'll get 200,000, so on and so forth. The percentage of next sale is a much stronger clause. I would never use this. Only ever remove and exclude this from the negotiation. And if you're going to include one of these, only include the percentage of profit from next sale, because then they're only getting the profit. It's a smaller amount of money. The percentage of next sale could be huge. And like if you signed a wonder kid and had this at 50% and sold him for 100 million, Norwich would get 50 million pounds. Always remove and exclude this from the negotiation. If you're going to include one of these, only include the percentage of profit from next sale. There's absolutely a time to use this, especially if you don't plan on selling a player for a huge profit, or it's only going to be a small profit and you feel you can significantly lower this transfer fee. This is a good tool to use. Otherwise, generally for wonder kids, I remove and exclude both. But all right, that is everything to do with transfer offers. That's kind of a basic outline of what transfer fees are, the transfer date, and everything to do with the additional fees and additional clauses. So if you're new to Football Manager, let's go through a transfer negotiation ourselves and see what it actually looks like. So we have a £5 million fee here. I don't think this is going to be great. I might want to sign other players, so I'll include some installments here. So I'll do 5 million and 4 million. I don't think they're going to accept this, but I want to see what we're looking like for a ballpark range. So I'm going to suggest these terms. Oh, and sure enough, they are going to want some more money here. So looking at that, that is a lot more money. So something to think about here is that if you go with a flat transfer fee, that is, you're not going to have to pay as much as if you just did installments. So installments plus a transfer fee, because it's not straight up money, will always end up being a higher total value. So right now this is 17 million pounds. If I remove this, I think I could negotiate a fee for 12 million. It will be much lower. So if I suggest terms here, we are much lower by increasing that, and 12 and a half or 13, this is going to be the magic number. Sure enough, this is the accepted offer. So at this point, if I was comfortable with 13 million, I could finalize this offer, submit the offer, that is accepted, and now I can negotiate a contract with Marcelino Nunez. But finally, there is one more trick with transfer negotiations that I want to show you guys. So let's do something with Ndidi here. Let's make an offer. Let's just make an offer. I know they're not going to accept 1 million. Yeah, they're not cool with that. I'm just going to go through, they're not going to accept 5 million. And I'm just going to wait until we get the red here. So the final thing here is if you can't get anything going, you're going to get this red thing over here that says Leicester feel that discussions have not made enough progress and they decline to give an immediate answer. You don't have to make an offer. Just cancel the offer real quick here. And then we're just going to continue the game once. I'm right at the beginning of the game. So now we've moved forward one day. And now that we're one day in the future, it's like everything resets and you can go through and make a new offer now. I did a really bad job of negotiating that one with Wilfred Ndidi, but as you can see here, everything has pretty much reset. So as long as you didn't really screw up the negotiations previously, you can go through and do the whole thing where you suggest terms again. I was really far off their negotiations, but as long as you're relatively close, you can cancel the offer or get to it, and then you can go back through, do the offer again, and it's like having a clean slate. But all right, that is everything with transfer offers. The last thing we're going to talk about today is how to negotiate loans. So the idea of going in for loans is going to be very similar. So transfer, make an offer, and go to loan offer. This is going to tell you exactly what they want to make this loan happen. Loans are a little bit different from transfers. Transfers, you can negotiate and there's a little bit of wiggle room. Loan offers, not the same. If you can't match this offer, they're not going to accept this offer. So you can tell right away whether or not you can make a loan offer happen. It's saying right here, Crystal Palace would require a playing wage of 100% of the salary, unused 100% of the salary, playing monthly fee of 2.3 million, unused monthly fee of 2.3 million pounds. If I can't make this happen, this deal will not happen. So there's a number of things to talk about with the loans, but fortunately it's pretty much all on this screen here. So first, playing monthly fee and unused monthly fee. This is pretty much exactly what it says like. Playing monthly fee is when the player is playing in the first team squad. This is what you're paying, £2.3 million per month. If they're not paying, this is how much you're playing. In general, this is going to be the same, or if it's unused, it might be a little bit higher for unused. This is to incentivize you playing that player a little bit more. Generally, you want this to be zero. Find players on the loan list. Find players that you can get for free loans as much as you can. Try not to spend any money on loans. Similarly, you have the playing salary percentage and the unused salary percentage. This is exactly the same as the monthly fees, except with how much of their salary you're paying. I cannot afford the 100% salary, so this is another reason why this wouldn't work. However, this is how much you'd be paying per week. It could be 0% up to over 100% of their total salary. In general, this is also something you want to be 0% or as close to 0% as you can. And if this is really high and a player is loan listed, you can get this to just about zero if you wait till transfer deadline day when clubs are really trying to get rid of their loan players. So if you can, wait till transfer deadline day and you will be able to get more players for cheap. After that is the duration of the loan. It could be 6 months, which would be to the next transfer window, or it could potentially be all the way to the end of the season. In this case, if you want it to be for the full season, you would click on end of the season, and then the owning team of Chris Richards, Crystal Palace here, will get them back at the end of the season. After that, we move into the loan clauses. We have agreed playing time, preferred position, and preferred role. In general, this is actually really important to pay attention to, because if you don't pay attention to this, they could get recalled or the player could be unhappy because you're not giving them as much playing time as you said they would. So make sure that this is something that you're generally comfortable with. Sometimes teams will hard lock the playing time, position, and preferred role, and there's nothing you can do about that. But here we can negotiate it. In this case, I would be okay with him being a regular starter. There's no preferred position, but I might play him at center back. So if they said center back, I would put that in, and potentially a central defender. So the thing to look at here is make sure that the playing time is correct, and if they've hard locked the position and role, make sure that those are positions and roles that are actually in your tactic and are what you would be playing them as. Otherwise, they will be unhappy during the course of the loan. And as much as you can, try to get that to none selected. That is the best option for you to give you the freedom and flexibility to be able to do whatever you want with them. There are other performance-related clauses like future fee after matches played, future fee after competition achievement, and bonus after competition achievement. But the other two things that are really big for future fees are optional future fees and mandatory future fees. Optional future fees and mandatory future fees are related to you signing the player after the loan occurs. If you put in an optional or mandatory future fee, you will get an idea of whether that player wants to join your club. In this case, Chris Richards is not that interested in a permanent deal, so he probably would not end up joining my club with an optional or mandatory future fee. And again, to be clear, an optional future fee is how much you would pay in straight up money if this transfer were to occur. So if I decided to trigger an optional future fee, I would pay £19 million to Crystal Palace to try and sign Chris Richards. But again, an optional future fee is optional. You do not have to trigger this. This could just be something that you add in to try and help the loan deal to go through. On the contrary, though, a mandatory future fee will be paid immediately. Like right after the loan deal is done, you will pay £19 million to sign the player. And the other big thing is that if you choose to go the mandatory future fee route, Chris Richards would have to agree then a contract with you for the loan move and future mandatory future fee to occur. If they do not agree that contract negotiation, then you will not even get Chris Richards on loan for that season. So be careful if you're doing a mandatory future fee or optional future fee. in general, I never do the mandatory future fee. I always look to do the optional future fee because it gives you a little more flexibility. That's everything there. The final loan options are that you always want are can play in cup matches, and make sure that you undo the loan cannot be terminated, remove that from the negotiation. That way, if you have a player who's not playing well or maybe they got injured, you can terminate the loan in the next transfer window and you could potentially open up a loan spot for a new transfer. But all right, I believe that is everything for transfer offers and loan offers. I'm not going to put in this bid because I don't actually want Chris Richards and I couldn't make this happen anyways. So I'm just going to cancel the offer for now. But all right, that is a kind of beginner's guide to navigating the transfer offer and loan offer screens. If you had any confusion about that, if you're new to the game or had any confusion, I hope that helps to clear things up for you and see what it's like to kind of walk through a transfer offer or a loan offer. In the future, I'll also do a player sales video, so how to negotiate loans and transfers from the selling perspective. I'll make a tutorial on that as well. Hopefully that will help you all in your different situations, especially if you're new to the game. But again, that is pretty much everything for this video. I'd like to give a shout out to Wally, who commented with the idea for this video. So thank you very much. If you have any ideas or anything that you would like to know more about, let me know in the comments and I'll try to help that out. But otherwise, thank you for watching this video. I hope you found this tutorial to be helpful and I will see you all very soon. Bye.